The word Shia has been used in the Quran with its derivatives on 6 occasions. The first occasion, chapter 6, verse 59 of the Quran. The second, chapter 6, verse 165 of the Quran. The third, chapter 28, verse number 4. The fourth, chapter 28, verse number 15. The fifth, chapter 30, verse 31 to 32. And the sixth, chapter 37, verse 83. If I was to look at a couple of them, they'll define for us what the word Shia means. For example, chapter 37, verse 83 says, وَإِنَّ مِن شِيعَتِهِ لَإِبْرَاهِيمَ. And from amongst his followers was Ibrahim. Here, therefore, the usage of the word Shia refers to the Prophet Abraham. Why? The idea here is given that the Prophet Abraham was amongst the followers of the Prophet Noah. In the order of the succession of the prophets, Abraham, of course, follows Noah. And that the idea was that Abraham's principles were similar to Noah, in that he was a prophet of God, who brought a message of monotheism to his people. There were people who surrounded the both of them who did not necessarily believe in that which they believe in. Both of them had trouble with the people of their time. As in Noah, the Quran mentions, for over 950 years, was trying to preach the message of God. And the Quran says the people, in some cases, or the majority of cases, would not listen to him. جَعَلُوا أَصَابِعَهُمْ فِي آذَانِهِمْ. They would come and bring their fingers and they would stick them into their ears. And that he tried and he would try until eventually the whole incident of the flood occurred. Likewise with the Prophet Abraham, the Quran mentions the story that Abraham was living in a time of idol worshippers, where his own uncle was an idol worshipper. He was brought up by his uncle. After many narrations say his father had passed away at a young age. And this uncle of his used to carve the idols. Abraham witnesses the creation of the sun, the moon, and the stars, and therefore comes to the conclusion of the belief in the oneness of God, and goes about trying to debate the idol worshippers about how idol worship is the biggest form of oppression, both to a human being and towards God. Therefore you found that the word Shia was used. وَإِنَّ مِن شِيعَتِهِ. And from his followers was Ibrahim. That's one example. Then Shia could have a second meaning. The party of. Some would say follower, party, isn't it the same thing? Not necessarily. A follower may be someone who follows your exact message. A party may be someone who's of your people. And therefore he's someone you collectively associate with. In Surah 28 verse 15, one of the references which I gave you. فَوَجَدَ فِيهَا رَجُلَيْنِ يَقْتَتِلَانِ هَذَا مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ وَهَذَا مِنْ عَدُوِّهِ. Prophet Moses walks through town. He sees 2 men fighting. One of them was the cook of Pharaoh. The other was from the children of Israel. One of them is an Egyptian. The other is an Israelite. Who obviously would be from the Shia of Musa? It would be the Israelite, because Musa is an Israelite, but brought up in an Egyptian household. The Quran came forward and said, هَذَا مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ هَذَا مِنْ عَدُوِّهِ. One of them is of his Shia, and the other one is of his enemies. Why? Because of his enemies, Moses was brought up in the court of Pharaoh. Yet Pharaoh used to believe, I am God, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. I am the Lord the Most High. Even though he was brought up in his house, does not mean he's one of his followers. Yet once again, the word Shia is defined by these two. That whenever anybody comes to you and says, what's the meaning of the word Shia? It means the party of or the follower of. Can the word Shia be next to somebody in opposition to the current Shia? Of course it can. Because if the word Shia means party or follower, I could say the Shia of Hussein for the Shia of Yazid. Do you understand the point? And that's why the schism over the Shia of Kufa killing Hussein is a very wrong interpretation. How many times have you heard from people saying, it was you Shia who killed Hussein? Are you feeling guilty? I defy anyone historically to show me a single Shia in the meaning of the word which we're going to come to in our analysis, in the meaning of the idea of prophet and infallibles who succeed him, and the belief in Hussein as the third of those infallibles. I defy anyone to show me a single Kufan who believed in the Hussein as the third infallible who killed Hussein. Shia of Hussein, because many ask this question, then what was the Shia of Hussein? The Shia of Hussein were two types. Were those who either believed Hussein was the third infallible, which I'm going to come to in a moment, or were those who said, we are your party who are against Yazid. Hence the words could be used as Shia. I am from the party that's against Yazid. Did Yazid have Shia? Yes, of course he did. Because again, the Arabic word Shia is taken from the party of Hussein, and you see the Shia of Yazid. That's why Hussein, while he's on the ground, in his final moments, before he dies, he makes a statement where he uses this word Shia before he even passes away. He's on the ground. The opposition leader says, is he dead or is he alive? The grandson of the Prophet is on the ground. Arrows surround his body. They are not certain if he's dead or if he's alive. One of the leaders from the opposition, Shimr bin Dil-Jawshan, came forward and said, to know if he's dead or if he's alive, shout out, we're going to attack his woman. Because a true warrior will not lay on the ground while his women are being attacked. Hussein, the narration says, on the ground. He tries to stand up, he falls. He tries to stand up, he falls. Then he calls out, O Shia of Abu Sufyan. Listen to the wording. O Shia of Abu Sufyan. Even, and then later on he says, O Shia of Yazid. Even if you don't believe in a day of judgment, then at least be free men in your worship. Don't go and attack innocent women who have done nothing wrong to you. Notice the wording. He takes the word Shia and completely transfers it to the opposition, highlighting that Shia does not necessarily mean a religious connotation. It could be an individual word which refers to a group of people. Move on to number 2. Ibn Saba, Jamal and Ghadir. So when did these Shia begin? As in, if you were to ask somebody now, these Shia who exist in the world today, when did they begin? You find that there are 3 main arguments as to when the Shia began. The first involves a very interesting man by the name of Abdullah ibn Saba. Abdullah ibn Saba is seen by many non-Shia, I say quite unfortunately, as being the originator of what 250 million people follow in the world. How? They say that Shi'ism began from a Yemeni Jew. So the whole of the belief of the Muslims who are Shia today is from a Yemeni Jew. That's the one who taught them all of their principles. So when 15 million people go to Karbala every year, it's because of a Yemeni Jew. He's the one who laid down the structure for them. This Abdullah ibn Saba, what was his original name? Abdullah ibn Saba ibn Sham'an. His father was called Sham'an. His mother, very important when we come to study context in a moment, was called Sauda. Hence, some people called him Ibn Saba, some called him Ibn Sauda. This person, his father, Saba, was one of those people who conspired to kill the second Khalifa, Umar ibn al-Khattab. They had got together and they conspired to kill the second Khalifa. When Uthman ibn Affan, the third Khalifa, came in, he ordered that those who conspired to kill Umar ibn al-Khattab had to be caught. Amongst the people who was caught was a person by the name of Harumaz al-Majusi. Harumaz al-Majusi. When Harumaz al-Majusi was caught, this is what the tradition says. Of course, it's not my opinion on the issue. It says Haruman al-Majusi, when he was caught, Abdullah, the son of Saba, became angry. And therefore, this Abdullah bin Saba converted to Islam, not because he believed in Islam. No, because he wanted to get within the status quo. He left Judaism, yet he was still really someone who was Jewish. He got into the religion of Islam, and what did he begin doing? He began causing the companions of the Holy Prophet to have schisms between each other. Because as we know, Abu Dharr al-Ghafari and Uthman ibn Affan did not get on with each other at all. That's a very well-known fact. And so therefore, Abdullah ibn Saba was to blame for this. Ammar ibn Yasir, when he spoke out against Uthman ibn Affan, again the reply was Abdullah ibn Saba was the cause of this. Abdullah ibn Saba was the cause again of the killing of Uthman ibn Affan according to this school. Abdullah ibn Saba was also the man who formulated the Shia that we see today according to this school. Why? Because they say Abdullah ibn Saba used to raise the position of Ali ibn Abi Talib to divinity. When he started to raise Ali ibn Abi Talib's position to divinity, they say that he is the man who would tell people, look, fight with Ali ibn Abi Talib and fight in defending him against the mother of the believers, Aisha, against Talha and against Zubair. And that later historians would say the companions loved each other. There was no problem between them. It was a Yemeni Jew who caused all the friction. Later on, they say that Abdullah ibn Saba began Shi'ism, that he was the first Shia of Ali. This argument is an absolutely absurd argument. And within the academic world, it's been denounced by many already. Those who want references can either go towards Yitzhak Naqash's discussion on this issue, or can go towards Taha Hussein's discussion on the issue, where they both come forward and say it's an absurd idea which is normally brought up to try and bring the Shia's principles down. Abdullah ibn Saba, who began him, as in who narrates him? Sayf ibn Umar al-Tamimi. Sayf ibn Umar al-Tamimi, according to Imam al-Nasa'i, amongst others, according to Yahya ibn Mu'in, amongst others, according to Al-Hakim and Nisapuri, within the Mustadrak al-Sahihain, all of them come forward and say he's not a reliable narrator, to the extent that some of them come forward and say he's a fabricator. Some of them come forward and say he's a liar. Sayf ibn Umar al-Tamimi isn't just rejected as a narrator by the world of the Shia. The Sunni schools narrate him, come forward and say that his narrations are to be taken as fabrications, number one. Number two, did a man exist by Abdullah ibn Saba? In my opinion, yes. A man did exist, but not the man who formed the Shia. So who was the man who existed? There were three men, according to the chronicles of history, who were given the title Abdullah ibn Saba. Let me explain who they are. The first of them led the Khawarij fighting Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Battle of Nahrawan. Note that down, please. Ali ibn Abi Talib faced 3 civil wars when he became Khalifa. Ironic, if I say so myself. The first was Jamal, the second was Safin, the third was Nahrawan. The same people who had fought with him at Badr and Uhud came back later on to fight against him. What we find was that at Nahrawan, the leader of the army against Ali ibn Abi Talib was Abdullah ibn Saba. Number one, if you are the leader against Ali ibn Abi Talib, how you form the Shia, only God knows. Number two, there was another man by the name of Abdullah ibn Wahab as-Saba'i. Note that down. Abdullah ibn Wahab as-Saba'i. Abdullah ibn Wahab as-Saba'i, the narrations say he came from the town known as Mada'in. And he came to Ali ibn Abi Talib. One narration says Ali ibn Abi Talib was on his horse one day, he was traveling. He saw this man eating. And he said to him, it's the holy month of Ramadan. Why are you eating? He said to him, you are as you are. I said to him, what do you mean? He said, I believe that you are God. Astaghfirullah. When he said that, as soon as he said that, Ali ibn Abi Talib, the narration says, came down from the horse. He put his cheeks on the ground. And he said, I've been created from clay by the Lord. And he ordered this person that if him and his followers do not stop in their heretic ways, they will all be punished. Because in Islam, to claim that a human being is God is seen as the most worst of oppressive acts towards the religion. Therefore, Abdullah ibn Wahab as-Saba'i could not be the formulator of the Shia, because there is not a single Shia in terms of the mainstream who believe that Ali ibn Abi Talib is God. Number three, and I agree with Dr. Shaibi's PhD in Baghdad. A very interesting PhD for those of you who want to go even deeper into this discussion. Dr. Shaibi wrote a PhD in Baghdad University titled The 15 Proofs that Ibn Saba was Ammar ibn Yasir.